The reason why this tomb endured and survived armies and earthquakes is that the Nabateans who built it cut it into the sandstone surface of the mountain, rather than build some freestanding marble monument. The mountains shook with earthquakes, but these buildings stood intact. The Nabateans had what you might call an instinct for cultural ecology. They worked with the rock of their desert home. The columns are graceful. The capitals are heavily decorated. It's all part of an international Hellenistic style, and yet it seems to me this place is very local, untransferable. This is Petra, and only Petra, these great palatial buildings seem to say. More amazing still, this place was built by people who were nomads when they first arrived here, in the 4th century before Christ. The Nabateans were goat herders, camel riders, dwellers in tents. But flocks and herds weren't going to produce this. Petra was built on trade in incense. 2,000 years ago, aromatic frankincense and myrrh were essential for the ceremonies and rituals which punctuated daily life. The nondescript little chunks and granules of dried tree resin produce these clouds of fragrant incense smoke, and they became the hottest trade between Africa and Persia. But here's the thing. The trees that produce the resin only grow in a particular part of Arabia. And who knew that desert, mile by stony mile, oasis by oasis, better than the Nabateans? No one. So the Nabateans started as navigators and pilots, if you like, for this precious cargo, went on to be full-service providers, and then thought, well, why don't we trade it ourselves directly? Pretty soon, they were monopolists of the incense trade, the emperors of aromatics. But a civilization here was inconceivable without the one thing more precious than frankincense: water. The Nabateans engineered cisterns to trap the rains which came in winter, and their desert hydraulics made this place not so much rose red as bright green. A garden city of fountains, swimming pools, groves, and orchards. And the water which made all that possible also made it possible to feed a city of 30,000 people, many of whom were immigrants from all over the region. There were Egyptians and Syrians and Judeans and Greeks and Romans, and they were all coming to Petra to enjoy what the Persians called a paradisa, a pleasure resort, a little bit of heaven on earth. And they all brought a flourish of their own cultural styles with them. Most of the art discovered here has been taken to museums, but what survives tells the story of a cosmopolitan playground. There are curious abstract representations of a Nabatean goddess, carved heads from the wine-soaked Hellenistic cult of Dionysos. Recent excavations have brought to light ritzy villas carved into the living rock. Inside them, here's to happiness murals from that same Dionysian cult. Cherubs, vine leaves, the inevitable bunches of grapes. And from the later years of Petra's life, Byzantine mosaics found beneath the sand and rubble of a ruined church. Petra had its day, or rather its centuries, and then it ended. Not because of conquest, but because new trade routes simply made Petra commercially irrelevant.